She stole my house. That's what my daughter said. In a courtroom, pointing straight at me like I was a stranger. Or worse. I didn't interrupt her. Didn't shake my head. Didn't defend myself. I just stood there. 73 years old, hands steady, breathing slow. While everyone in that room looked at me like they were waiting for something. An excuse. A denial. A crack. But I gave them none of it. Instead, I reached into my bag. Before we continue, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell for updates. You ever carry something for so long that it starts to feel heavier than it should? Not because of the weight, but because of what it means? That envelope had been with me for 10 years. 10 years of silence. 10 years of waiting. I pulled it out slowly. Worn edges, seal untouched. The judge took it from my hands. Careful, curious. And the moment he opened it, his entire expression changed. His fingers paused mid-page. "When was this signed?" he asked. I looked at him, then at her. My daughter, Leora, standing there with her lawyer, chin lifted like she had already won. And I said, plain and simple, the day she left. Now you might be wondering, how does a mother end up here? How does it go from giving your child everything to standing in court accused of stealing from them? I ask myself that sometimes. But to understand that moment, you have to go back 10 years. Back to when I was 63, still working, still steady, still believing that if you did right by your children, things would somehow stay right. I had a house. Not big, not fancy, but it was mine. Paid off, quiet street, every corner of it stitched together from years of work at a sewing machine. And then one night, she came back. No warning, no suitcase, just a knock at the door that didn't sound like her, but was. She said she had nowhere to go, and I believed her. Of course I did. Because what kind of mother doesn't? But here's the part no one tells you. Sometimes, the moment you think you're saving someone is the exact moment everything quietly begins to unravel. And that night, something felt wrong. Something didn't sit right that night. I couldn't explain it, not out loud, not even to myself, but it was there. Quiet, persistent. Have you ever opened your door to someone you love and still felt like you should be careful? That was me. Leora stood there, soaked from the rain, eyes glossy like she'd been crying for hours. "Mom, I don't have anywhere else to go." Simple words, effective words. I stepped aside immediately. Of course I did. She walked in like she already knew where everything was, because she did. But still, something about the way she moved felt practiced. That first night, she barely spoke. Just sat at the kitchen table, holding a mug of tea she didn't drink. But her phone? It kept lighting up, buzzing again and again. She never answered it. Not once. I asked her what happened. She said eviction. Then later, she said her partner left. Then later, she said both happened at the same time. You see the problem? The details kept shifting. Not wildly, just enough to make you pause. But I didn't push. Because when your child looks at you like they're about to fall apart, you don't interrogate, you protect. Days passed. Then weeks. She settled in quickly. Too quickly. New clothes in the closet, expensive ones, food preferences that didn't match someone who had nothing left. And yet, no job, no real explanation. Then one morning, she said something that changed everything. We were sitting at the table, same spot, same light coming through the window. She looked at me and said, "If something happens to you, what happens to me?" I remember blinking, not because I didn't understand, but because I understood perfectly. That wasn't fear. That was positioning. After that, it became a pattern. Little comments, carefully placed, never direct, but always leading to the same place, the house. My friends already have things figured out. I just want stability. I don't want to end up on the street again. Again. That word stuck with me. Because I wasn't sure she had ever been there in the first place. Still, I listened. I nodded. I let her speak. And then, one afternoon, I made a decision that surprised everyone. Even her. I told her I'd transfer the house into her name. No argument, no negotiation, just like that. But what she didn't realise, what no one realised, was that I didn't make that decision out of trust. I made it because I had already started paying attention. You'd think giving away your house would feel like losing something. It didn't. That's the part people never understood. When I signed those papers, I wasn't confused. I wasn't pressured. And I certainly wasn't emotional. I was calm, clear, certain. And that's exactly why I went one step further, quietly, without telling her. Because while Leora thought she was guiding the situation, I was documenting it. Let me ask you something. If you felt a story shifting in front of you, wouldn't you want proof of where it began? The day we went to the notary, she played her role perfectly. Soft voice, grateful tone, even held my hand at one point. Anyone watching would have thought she was a devoted daughter. But I noticed everything. The way she answered questions too quickly, the way she avoided eye contact when certain words came up, the way she squeezed my hand, not for comfort, but as if reminding me to stay on script. So before that meeting ever happened, I prepared something. A written statement, signed, notarized separately. My own words, clear, detailed, dated. I documented everything. Her arrival, her inconsistencies, her request. Not accusations, just facts. Then came the part she never questioned. That same day, after the paperwork was done, I asked her to write something too. I told her it was just for my peace of mind. A simple note confirming that she had asked for the house and that she understood what was happening. She didn't hesitate. Why would she? At that point, she thought she had already won. She wrote it, signed it, dated it, and handed it back to me without reading it twice. That was the moment I knew. Not what she was planning exactly, but that she was planning something. So I sealed everything in an envelope, and I kept it. Then, just a few days later, I left. No argument, no goodbye speech. I packed one suitcase, placed my keys on the kitchen counter, and walked out of the house I had lived in for nearly 4 decades. She didn't stop me, didn't even follow me to the door. And that told me more than anything else ever could. For 10 years, I stayed quiet. No calls, no corrections, no attempts to fix anything. Because sometimes, silence is the only way to let a story fully reveal itself. And hers did. Slowly. Publicly. Until one day, I received a letter, a legal notice from my own daughter, claiming that I had stolen the house from her. She manipulated me. That's how Leora began. Clear voice, steady posture, not a hint of hesitation. You'd almost believe her if you didn't know her the way I did. I sat there, hands folded in my lap, listening as she told the court a version of our lives that felt carefully edited. According to her, I had been confused, vulnerable, easily influenced. She said I didn't understand what I was signing, that she had tried to help me manage things. And somehow, in that version of events, I became the one who took advantage of her. Tell me, how does a story flip like that? How does a favour turn into a crime? Her lawyer stepped in next, smooth, confident. He laid out documents like puzzle pieces. The property transfer, the dates, witness signatures. Everything was real. That's what made it convincing. But reality and truth aren't always arranged the same way. Then they finished, and the room shifted, because now it was my turn. No dramatic entrance, no stack of papers, just me and my bag. I stood up slowly, felt every eye in that room settle on me like weight. They were waiting for emotion, denial, anger, tears. But I had none of those to give. Instead, I reached into my bag and pulled it out. The envelope. 10 years untouched. Even in that moment, I noticed how quiet it made the room. Funny, isn't it? How something so small can hold that much attention. I walked it forward and placed it in the judge's hands. No explanation, because the truth doesn't need an introduction. He opened it carefully. One document, then another, then another. His eyes slowed, his fingers stopped turning pages. And for the first time since the hearing began, someone looked uncertain. He glanced up at me. When was this signed? There it was, the moment everything had been moving toward. I didn't rush my answer, didn't look at my lawyer because I didn't need one. I looked at her, my daughter, and I said, the day she left. You could feel it then. Something had shifted. Not loudly, not dramatically, but enough. Enough to make the story unstable. Because whatever was inside that envelope, it didn't just challenge her version of events. It threatened to unravel it completely. The room didn't erupt. There was no dramatic gasp, just silence. The kind of silence that means something has already changed, and everyone knows it. The judge adjusted his glasses and started from the top of the stack again. Slower this time. Careful. And piece by piece, the truth settled into the room. First, my statement, dated before the transfer. Clear. Detailed. Calm. Not emotional, not defensive. Just a record of what had happened. Her arrival, her shifting explanations, her request. Then the second document. A drafted agreement, never filed publicly. It outlined the condition that she would remain in the house with me, that the transfer wasn't abandonment, it was shared living, stability. But the third document, that's the one that mattered. Her handwriting, her signature, her date. A simple declaration that she had asked for the house, that she understood the transfer, that no pressure had been applied. The judge read that part twice. Then he looked at her, and for the first time since this began, Leora didn't look prepared. Her shoulders dropped just slightly. Her eyes flickered, not with emotion, but with calculation, and the realization that it wasn't working anymore. That version of the story? It couldn't survive this. The ruling came without hesitation. The claim was dismissed. The transfer stood exactly as it had been signed 10 years ago. And her accusation was placed on record for what it was: misrepresentation. But consequences don't stop at a judge's words. Outside that courtroom, things shifted quickly. People who had believed her started asking questions. Old conversations resurfaced. Inconsistencies she once smoothed over became visible. The house she fought to control? It stayed in her name, but now it carried something else too: a record. And that's not something you can renovate. As for me, I didn't feel victorious. I didn't feel angry either. What I felt was finished. 10 years of silence, held in one envelope, had done exactly what it needed to do. I walked out of that courthouse the same way I walked out of that house years ago. Calm, steady, certain. But this time, I wasn't leaving anything unresolved behind me. No questions, no doubts, just the truth. Spoken, heard, and finally